said, my name is Allison Faith Konz. I'm a junior at Burlington High School, and I've been going to St. John's since I was born. Your middle name is a weapon. It was given to you by your parents so that you knew you were in trouble when they called it. Allison Faith. I've heard that a lot. Allison Faith, they said to me as an infant as I interrupted yet another sermon Sunday morning. Allison Faith, they said after I dressed up my brother in glitter makeup and butterfly barrettes. That's Brian, by the way, not Evan. Getting older isn't as glorious as I imagined. The older I get, the less free time I find available in life. This is a problem for me because I've committed myself to being passionate for so many different things that makes my head spin. You can find me writing, drawing, running, singing, playing piano or guitar, painting, drinking coffee, being outside, or biking, just not all at the same time. I've been told I intimidate people when I'm not smiling. In fact, this face is notoriously known as the look, and if you've seen it, you'll know what it is. But I'm sorry if it's rubbed you the wrong way, because I probably do like you. I'm in love with my life, my family, my friends, and the opportunities that God has presented me. However, it's taken me a long time to come to these terms. My story begins 2 years ago. Going into high school, like many teenage girls, I questioned my worth and was constantly reminded of my insecurities. I also got my first boyfriend that year. This, and the doubts I had about myself, weakened our relationship and ultimately led to our breakup in late November. I waited a long time for this boy to come back into my life, but he moved on quicker than I thought he would have. I was upset, but I wasn't depressed. I started to get headaches in December, and they were severe enough that I couldn't focus on my schoolwork. They began to give me anxiety due to the high expectations I held for myself academically. So someone suggested that I should go to the doctor and try to find a solution so I could relieve the headaches. After my visit with my doctor, she concluded that I was suffering from a mild depression and anxiety, so she prescribed me to an antidepressant. And I didn't think I was depressed at the time, but we went with what the doctor said. And suddenly, I began to feel really empty inside. Like it was this feeling I'd never felt before, or lack thereof. I stopped caring about the activities I was once involved in, and life seemed really dark. I found myself smiling less and less each day, and I was constantly upset, and I didn't know why. I withdrew into myself until I hit a brick wall, and I discovered how much I disliked myself. My depression took hold of my insecurities and spun them into self-hatred. I blamed this emptiness and my insecurities on myself for breaking up with that boy. And there, I blamed everything on myself. At this point, I stopped caring about church and my relationship with God. I used to go to church a few times a month, and I sang and I did everything I was supposed to do, but I never felt a bond that tied me back with God. I knew He was there, but I'd never made this commitment to open my heart completely. Then, when I became depressed, I had doubts. I doubted whether this God I'd been worshiping for the past 14 years even existed in my life. I began to hurt myself because I figured that's what I deserved. It was what drew the line between my emotional and physical pain. My parents didn't know about this until I became verbal about hurting myself with my friends. They immediately told my counselor and parents. A psychiatrist, my school counselor, my family, and my friends all tried to tell me that I wasn't messed up as I thought I was. I was a person. I'm not made to be imperfect, right? But nothing could convince me otherwise. The one thing that did seem to work were the Sunday mornings I was dragged to church. Whenever I entered St. John's and sat in these pews, my anxiety subsided. I felt like I belonged to something, and I felt loved for that 1 hour I was here. It took me a long time to realize that this was God trying to help me. But I mistook my pains for God's lack of empathy. I asked myself, where was He when I needed Him the most? I began to have suicidal thoughts in January, and acted on them sometime shortly after. I wasn't worthy of love, I had decided. Not even the love of my parents, who held me at night in fear of me not breathing in the morning, or a God who would send His only Son to die on the cross for me. I had the second attempt planned about 2 weeks after my birthday, in February. My family found out about this the day I was planning on attempting again, and I became so hysterical that they didn't know what to do with me, except call Rogers Memorial Hospital. I was immediately admitted the next day, and I stayed inpatient for a week. I wasn't happy or by any means better when I first entered. The beginning of my recovery actually began when Pastor Tom gave me this Bible. It's filled with uplifting notes and highlighted verses that many of you in the pews wrote. I was grateful for the gift. However, looking back in the memory, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready to let God into my life. Not yet, at least. I was released the next day, and I was scheduled for an outpatient treatment immediately that Wednesday. That went about as smoothly as inpatient. I couldn't find meaning or value in my life. I felt like hope was still lost. And then, by the grace of God, one of my dad's clients scheduled a hair appointment. It sounds weird, because it's a little, what does that have to do with anything? But she happened to be a pharmacist who had been a family friend for years. So after my dad told her what was going on, she asked if they'd consider taking a different direction with my medication. My parents and I sat down that same evening, and we talked about if I'd like to stop taking that medication. It was a risk, and I'd have to consult the doctors about it because you just can't go off something that dangerous. And I'd have to go off at small dosages at a time. We met with the doctors, and I chose to take the risk. I was desperate, and I wanted more than anything to change and be happy again. I ended outpatient and waited patiently for a miracle. One day while visiting my great-grandma, I began reading the Bible that Pastor Tom had given me. I don't know what urged me to read this Bible, but upon my visit with my great-grandma, I was ready to read it and look through the verses that everyone had highlighted. Upon reading the suggestions, I stumbled across Proverbs 31:25. She is clothed in strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. I was intrigued by how this woman that God was describing was so strong and capable of overcoming pain. So I asked myself, why can't I be like her? And I didn't have an answer. God began teaching me how to love myself in the way He made me to be. My body, my personality, and my spirit. It didn't happen quickly. I would take one step forward, 2 steps back. I prayed really hard to learn how to love myself, to find happiness in anything, and to get better. I worked harder to push away all those negative thoughts I told myself during my depression. And it happened. It wasn't until the end of June that I considered myself continuously happy. I spent about a year and a half with God working through my insecurities that I had learned how to love myself for how I was made. I still had to overcome everything that I told myself, and I still had questions about my faith. I wasn't quite ready yet. This year, during our homecoming week, the Frederick Medical College of Wisconsin put on a mock car crash for our upperclassmen. They demonstrated the after effects of texting and driving and drunk driving. One of the students died in our mock funeral, and we had a eulogy for him. The mother, she gave a eulogy that was so touching that reminded me of what my mother said to me, that what she would have to say if she ever had to give me a eulogy. I started crying. It brought tears because I realized how thankful I was that God helped me fight through such a difficult time in my life 2 years earlier. Later that night, I went to H2O youth group at Journey Church in Burlington with a group of my friends. Pastor Greg Burrows gave such an incredible sermon that night. I began to have the same feelings I had felt during the mock funeral. It was no coincidence that throughout the day I was reminded of my gratefulness of God helping me fight through my depression. I knew at this point that this wasn't something I could just ignore. I was reminded of a Bible verse I found earlier that month I fell in love with. Ecclesiastes 3:12. I know that there is nothing better for people to do than be happy and do good while they live. And so, when this verse came to mind during that sermon, I felt it in my heart that it was time to go home to God. I was ready to commit myself, and I was ready to share my story. On October 14th, 2015, I reaffirmed my faith by being baptized for a second time. I haven't been perfect since that baptism, but I learned that it's okay not to be perfect. I understand that we're a part of something larger, and that our mistakes can help us grow if we choose to learn from them. I found a relationship that I've been searching for so long. A relationship with not just any guy, but the one who is for me as someone who is clothed in strength and dignity. If I would have never gone through that pain in my life, I may have never learned how not to only love myself at full potential, but my family, my friends, and my life. My faith in God has only been strengthened, and I found a new meaning to my middle name. Everyone's story to reach God is different. Some have gone through pains longer and deeper than mine, maybe some not at all. But the greatest part that I've discovered is that we all share this God who has created us imperfectly so that we can share our stories to remind each other that He is always with us. And I would encourage you to share your story so that you have the power to remind someone who may be struggling that He is always present in our life.